All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the St. Tammany Parish Planning Commission meeting of Tuesday, May the 11th. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Seeger. Here. Ress. Here. McInnes. Here. Willie. Here. Doherty.
Here.
Barcelona.
Here.
Fitzmaurice. Crawford.
Here.
Drum. Randolph.
Here.
Truxilla.
Here.
Drum's here someplace, huh?
Oh, yeah, that's one. So we have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. All right, public announcements. Please silence all phones and electronic devices. Appeals, if you wish to appeal one of our decisions to the council, there are appeal cards on the railing to my right. Please complete one and get it into staff. Speaker cards, if you wish to speak, please complete a speaker card and turn it in so that it can get up here to me. Public speaking, 10 minutes each side and 5 minutes for rebuttal. After your case is heard, please exit the building. I don't think we're going to have a problem with seating tonight, so that's the reason for that. Please rise for the invocation by Commissioner Randolph and the pledge by Commissioner Drum.
Gracious Father, once again, we come to you as humble as we know how to say thank you for all the blessings you bestowed upon our lives. We thank you for your grace and mercy that you exhibited upon each and every one of us this day. Thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to be here tonight. Bless our commissioners and those that's in the audience. And Lord, we ask a special blessing upon our governmental leaders and our staff. Bless our homes, our families in a mighty way. It's in your holy name. Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, in your packets, you had a copy of the April 7th meeting minutes. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to review it. Commissioner Randolph.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Motion by Commissioner Randolph to approve. Commissioner Crawford.
Second the motion.
Second by Commissioner Crawford. Please vote.
Motion to approve carries.
Thank you. Staff, we have any requests for postponement? Okay. Entering parish right-of-way, servitudes, easement, and Tammany trace. We have none. Revocation review. The first item is REV 21-05-002, the revocation of an unopened portion of Baser Road located on the north side of Chifunk Drive, south of Wildwood Drive, between Lot 23 and 24 in the River Forest Country Club Subdivision, Covington, Ward 1, District 3. The applicant is John Knight, Parish Council District Representative, Honorable Martha Casabon. Staff?
Okay, the applicants are requesting to revoke the unopened portion of Baser Road. He seeks to just combine it with his residential property that he owns. The Baser road is located on the River Forest Country Club Subdivision plat, and the original plan was for the road to serve as a vehicular connection to the eastern part of the subdivision, but it's those plans are long abandoned. It's no longer needed in that capacity. However, our Public Works Department still thinks that there's a public use to the parish if we should actually need access to the Chafuncta River for any situations such as desnagging or debris removal. So the staff doesn't recommend approval at this time.
Okay, thank you. John Knight, are you in the audience? Good evening, sir. You heard staff comments that we still use that, right of way?
Yes, I would like to.
Come to the microphone, please.
I would like to suggest that if the Department of Works needs to access the river, the right-of-way is also right next to the power line, the transmission power line, and it's much easier to access the river there than it is on Baser Road because of the contour of the land. There's a high cliff where an old road used to be. So it's a lot easier to access the river on the power line right-of-way than it would be on Baser Road, which is right next door. And also, if that's not applicable or if that's not acceptable, I would like to see if I could possibly lease on a yearly basis that portion just for my own privacy sake. Because if it's open public parish land, then anyone can use my driveway and there goes my privacy.
Well, I'm gonna have to, right now, Public Works is saying that they need that right of way, okay? And, I would suggest that you get back or, with Public Works and have a discussion with them. I'm not sure that the power company would allow, us to, use that as a right of way. We would have to get permission from them. If I'm not mistaken on that, usually when a power company or a gas line is in the area, you have to get permission to use that. So,
Would Public Works be the people to talk to if I wanted to lease that portion of land on a yearly basis?
legal?
You can get in touch with the Public Works Department, and they may be able to give you some guidance. They may ask our legal department for an opinion, but Chairman Doherty is correct. The parish does not have right of access through the power lines. We would have to obtain that access through that company, whereas now we have the access through Baser Road. And just because that is a unopened parish right-of-way, it does not mean that anyone from the parish or anyone in the public could actually trespass onto that property. So I don't think you need to worry about that concern.
Well, as it stands, I use Old Baser Road as my driveway. I've been maintaining it, and so would I be allowed to put a gate up?
No, you would
No.
not.
Okay. I mean, I'm allowed to use it still as my driveway, am I not? I've been using it for 35 years, so I don't know. Maybe I'm opening up a can of worms.
Right, that might be something that you want to discuss with Public Works.
Okay.
Okay. Ross?
Mr. Chairman, I would just maybe say we can postpone it, we can circle back with Public Works and see if we can come up with a solution that works for everybody. And instead of, just saying no or denying right now, I don't mind trying to see what we can work out. But again, just up to
Okay.
you.
That sounds good to me. That'll, give you 30 days to get in touch with Public Works and come up with a solution for you and a solution for them.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll be in touch.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak on this item? Seeing no one, I'll close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Randolph.
Yes, sir, I motion to postpone the revocation to the next month meeting for 1 month.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Randolph to postpone till next month's meeting. Commissioner McInnes.
Does that mean it'll come back before us?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make a comment, and then I'll second it, is that we don't have very many areas for public access on the river. I know Mr. Knight does not want to hear me say that, but for example, there's some groups that are trying to get canoe trails, landings established where you could paddle the river and have places to put in and take out. And access is mostly private, so it's hard for people to do that. So I just would like, Ross, for y'all to keep that in mind. And working with Mr. Knight at the same time. So I'll second the motion to postpone.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Motion to postpone in 1 month carries.
Thank you. All right, next item is minor subdivision review. The item is 2021-2317-MSP, a minor subdivision of parcel A into parcels A1, A2, and A3. Owner representative is Merle M. Mulkey. Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable James Davis. The general location, the parcel is located on the northwest corner of Robert Road and Mulkey Road, Mandeville, Ward 4, District 7. Staff?
The applicant is requesting to create 3 parcels from parcel A. The minor subdivision request requires a public hearing due to lots A2 and A3 do not meet the minimum lot size requirement under the chapter of 1 acre under Chapter 125 Subdivision Regulations, Section 125-188, and requiring a waiver from the Planning Commission. And also, parcel A is proposed to be accessed from a servitude of passage identified as Mulkey Road, and note that a maintenance agreement has been submitted as required.
Okay, thank you. Are the Mulkeys here? Yes. Good evening.
Good evening.
So you understand what the staff report is?
No, because y'all don't speak very loud. Sorry.
Okay. They lost power here in the building for a couple hours with thunderstorms, and so some of the stuff
Okay.
is not where it was previously. So you're hearing all right now?
Yes. Right, okay. Okay. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you.
Okay.
It's in black and white. I have 2 lots that face Robert Drive. One has the servitude up the back, up the side, the left side, or the east side. I live behind parcel 2 and 3, or A and B and C, whatever it is. And my son lives an acre and a half behind me, down that servitude. Next to me is, that's the subdivision, I can't remember. It's
Okay, I think the main part of the staff comment was to get the maintenance agreement in place, and I believe I heard Ellen say that that is in place now?
Yeah, we got it, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. All right, any other comments?
No,
Okay, all right.
thank you.
Anyone else in the audience wish to speak for or against on this item? Seeing no one, I will close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Randolph.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I would, motion to approve with the waiver.
Okay. Motion to approve with the waiver. Commissioner Barcelona.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Barcelona. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Motion to approve with waiver carries.
Thank you. Next item is 2021-2324-MSP, a minor subdivision of Lot 3A into lots N1, N2, and N3. Owner representatives Karen K. Navarre, Parish Council District Representative Donald Steve Stefancic. General location, the parcel is located on the west side of Dixie Ranch Road, south of Goodman Road, Slidell, Ward 9, District 11. Staff?
The applicant is requesting to create 3 lots from Lot 3A. The minor subdivision request requires a public hearing due to Lot A 3A was previously part of a minor subdivision approved in February 2018. Lot N3 does not meet the minimum lot width of 150 feet required under the A2 suburban zoning district along the front and requiring a waiver from the Planning Commission. And lots N1, N2, and N3 do not meet the minimum lot width of 150 feet required under the A2 suburban zoning district along the rear, requiring a waiver from the Planning Commission. The request shall be subject to the above three points just mentioned, and also items 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
All right, thank you. Mr. Navarro,
Yes, sir. Come on, Carol.
good evening.
Good evening.
You understand staff comment?
I beg your pardon?
Do you understand what the staff had in their comments?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Anything else you wish to tell the commission?
Well, the shape of the lot is what really got us, on that. And I was trying to keep the east-west property line, the south property lines between the lots on the same bearing. And that was, and to try to get the equal amount of acreage on each lot except for N1. N1, we were planning on building a home on. N2 and N3, we were planning on giving it to our kids.
Okay,
And I was trying to keep everything kind of on the fair side, on the equal side for them.
all right. All right, thank you. Let's see if anybody else in the audience wishes to speak on this. Does anyone in the audience wish to speak on this item? Seeing no one, I will close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Drum.
Good day, sir. I went and looked at this 2 days ago,
Okay.
and I see that you've already started to clear.
Yes, yes, sir.
And I noticed that a lot of the property around there
Yes,
were
it is.
on 1 acre lots. So you're wanting to break this down into smaller lots?
No, well, I wanted to break it down. N1 is 1.24, approximately 1.24 acres. N2 is approximately 1.5, and N3 is approximately 1.5 acres. The total was 4.24 acres on 3A.
Can I add to that?
Yes, ma'am.
We originally tried to do 4 acres, and we brought it to Coop Drive, and they wanted to do the ditch and the street, but
We decided to go with 3 lots.
and also we did get permission to do the underbrush.
Yeah, they gave us permission to do that.
Who?
The parish did.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Certainly.
Yeah, the parish
People
did.
say,
And I staked the whole property line. I went around, to see
Yeah.
where my property is at. And I also had it surveyed. So, but what I was trying to do, like I said, I was trying to keep everything where it looked uniform, as far as the
Right.
property lines were concerned. And that's where the problem came in at. And I don't want to have property lines skewed all over the place.
Right.
On this,
And we also tried to buy a lot of the 4 acres that was pretty square,
right.
but it had a lot of wetland on it.
And we didn't want to purchase that. Because you can't do anything.
That would
with it.
be what, 3B?
I beg your pardon?
See, this is what I need.
Yes.
It's a lot of wet.
Okay. Anything else, Kurt?
No, I don't see any problem with this, since we've got over an acre on each lot, and there wasn't much traffic, of course, except when I was there, trying to get back on the road, backing out of it.
Yeah, it's not that much traffic
But
going through there.
I don't see any problem with that. You got a beautiful place across the street that's gonna be looking at you, though.
Oh, yeah, it is.
But
Yeah, I know
so-
the guy that lives across the street.
So I make a motion that we accept this.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you. And we got hit with Katrina so bad
So,
that I was trying to look for
we're
higher
trying
ground.
to move from where we're located at,
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion
Thank
by
you.
Commissioner Drum to approve. With waivers?
With the waivers, Kurt?
Yeah, with waivers.
With waivers, okay. Commissioner Randolph.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Randolph. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Russ, do you vote? Motion to approve with waivers carries.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Y'all have a good evening.
Y'all have a good
Stay
evening
dry.
also. Thank you.
All right, next item is 2021-2326-MSP, a minor subdivision of parcel A and C into parcels A1 and C1. Owner and representative is Michael Wittich and Catherine Wittich. Parish Council District Representative, Honorable David Fitzgerald. General location, parcel is located on the east side of Louisiana Highway 25, north of Airport Road, south of Wiley Jenkins Road, Covington, Ward 3, District 2. Staff?
The applicant is requesting to create two parcels from parcels A and C. The minor subdivision request requires a public hearing due to parcels A and C were previously part of a minor subdivision approved in August 2018. The request shall be subject to the item number 1 listed here.
All right, thank you. Are the Wittich here in the audience? Good evening.
Hi, I'm Brian Yaniga.
Okay,
That's the land that we're getting, we're buying from him.
all right. You understand staff's comments?
That we're combining it, yes. Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Good deal. Let's see if anybody else in the audience wishes to speak either for or
Just moving
against.
property lines.
Seeing no one, I'll close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Willie.
Brian, go this way.
Yes, sir.
How are you?
Oh, good.
You looking to purchase all three parcels, or you the buyer, not the owner, right?
Right.
So you looking to buy one of the parcels from the owner, or all three?
No, on that one is 2.87
Uh-huh.
acres. We're just buying to where he only has 2 left. Because they wanted him to sell an acre at a time.
Yeah,
So we're just combining that into the acre and a half we have.
okay, good. I'll move for approval.
Motion by Commissioner Willie to approve. Commissioner Seeger.
Second that.
Second by Commissioner Seeger. Any further discussion? Please vote. Thank you.
Motion to approve carries.
Good evening. All right, next item is 2021-2328 MSP, a minor subdivision of parcels 2 and 3 into parcels 2A and 3A. Owner and representative is Salesi Construction LLC, Greg Salesi. Parish Council District Representative, Honorable Steve Stefanczyk. General location, parcel is located on the north side of Dummy Line Road, west of Louisiana Highway 41, Pearl River, Ward 6, District 11. Staff?
The applicant is requesting to create two parcels from parcels 2 and 3. The minor subdivision request requires a public hearing due to parcels 2 and 3 were previously part of a minor subdivision approved in September 2020.
Thank you. Is Mr. Salesi here? Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Greg Salesi. I had one gentleman bought partial 1, and then his brother wanted to buy partial 2A, but he just wanted more land, is why I wanted to add on to it, the partial 2.
All right. Say that again, Mr. Salesi.
Okay, partial 1, when we first subdivided, partial 1 and partial 2,
Right.
I had one gentleman buy the partial 1. And then his brother asked to buy partial 2, but he wanted more land.
Okay,
So that's why I was wanting to add on to the subdivide.
okay, all right. Yeah, yeah. All right, good deal. Let's see if anyone else in the audience wishes to speak on this. Anyone wish to come forward and speak on this item? Seeing no one, I'll close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Drum.
Yes, sir. I went and looked at this after I finally figured out where I was. And I see no problem with this. No problem with it.
Thank you.
I make a motion that we approve.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Drum to approve. Commissioner Truxilio.
I second.
Second by Commissioner Truxilio. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Commissioner Truxell. Motion to approve carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, next item is 2021-2345-MSP, a minor subdivision of parcel 1A into parcels 1A1 and 1A2. Owner representative is Richard Stevens Sr. Parish Council District Representative, Honorable Jake Airy. General location, the parcel is located on the east side of East Howes Beach Road, north of Lakeshore Village Drive, Slide L, Ward 9, District 13. Staff?
The applicant is requesting to create two parcels from parcel 1A. The minor subdivision request requires a public hearing due to parcel 1A was previously part of a minor subdivision approved in December 2018.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Stevens?
Good afternoon. My name is Richie Stevens Sr., and I am the owner of the property, and I'd like to have it developed into or separated into two lots so that I can sell one. I have the owner here that wants to buy the other lot, and just trying to get you guys okay. Everybody's okay.
Okay. What are you gonna do? Do you have a home on one of these lots?
Do I have a what?
A home on one of these lots?
No, sir.
Okay, so
They're-
both of them
they're
are
commer-
vacant right now?
Yeah, they're commercial.
Okay, all right. All right, thank you. Let's see if anyone else wishes to speak on this. Anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against on this? Seeing no one, I'll close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Randolph.
Yes, sir. Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Randolph to approve. Commissioner Truxilio.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Truxilio. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Motion to approve carries.
Thank you. Next item is 2021-2352, MSP, a minor subdivision of parcel B into parcels B1 and B2. Owners and representatives, United Assets LLC, Randy Baruso. Parish Council District Representatives, Honorable Martha Casabon. General location, the parcel located on the west side of Louisiana Highway 1077, south of North Point, Court, Covington, Ward 1, District 3. Staff?
The applicant is requesting to create two parcels from parcel B. The minor subdivision request requires a public hearing due to parcel B was previously part of a minor subdivision approved in 2006, and the request shall be subject to item number 1.
All right, thank you. Mr. Shane?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell Law Firm, P.O. Box 1810 in Covington, and I represent United Assets LLC, the owner and petitioner. This is a simple request to create two lots that are conforming. I would like to note that with regard to the staff comment, I'm not sure that I understand it, but if you'll take a look at the plat, you'll see that both lots, in fact, front on LA Highway 1077. There was a taking by the parish when they widened 1077 there, I think, for maybe a decel lane going north into the Shell Station complex there. But I just want to make sure that it's clear to all that both of these parcels have frontage on Highway 1077.
Okay?
Did you guys, did staff see this otherwise?
If I'm not mistaken, last week, we had a meeting in regards to a proposed development, maybe on the site. And, we're trying to confirm, that was one of the comment that we're trying to confirm. Maybe the Department of Transportation will have to confirm how to configure the driveways, because the access that is shown here is the CLECO servitude access. So it may have to be relocated, but we'll work through it. It's not,
Okay. Well, we are not designating on this plat an access point.
correct, yeah.
So we recognize that we will have to determine where our access is and, work with you and the state in that regard. I would note, though, that CLECO is the holder of a permit for access into the servitude. So it could be that we'll end up working through CLECO to use that access point. But we'll coordinate that with staff.
I think maybe, Mr. Tishy, you would like to add something?
In regards to the comment regarding the access, Mr. Shane, is if you look at Lot B1, it's denoted on the survey of ingress egress 1,100 feet from Highway 1077 and Highway 1085 intersection per reference number. I can't make it out on here, but that appears to be the provided access for this parent lot from the intersection of 1077 and 1085. That was provided as part of the construction to allow this lot to remain in commerce with access to this property. As such, Lot B2 does not include that, and therefore you would need approval from DOTD to tie in to Highway 1077, or you'd have to have some type of cross-connectivity, but your cross-connectivity would be across Tallow Branch, which is labeled as a ditch on this between the two lots.
Okay.
So I'm not sure
Understood.
the scale of the crossing you would need to do cross-connectivity, and I don't see a survey or a servitude provided to provide that at this time.
Okay. I better understand the comment. So we agree that both lots, in fact, front or have front on a public highway, but your issue is whether or not B2 has what is its access point going to be?
Correct. Is DOTD going to grant them a driveway access connection?
Sure. And so you'll know, and maybe you're not aware, but there is in fact a driveway permit that has been issued to CLECO to Lot B2.
Is CLECO going to allow you guys to access?
Well, we're going to have discussions, but we realize that that doesn't give us carte blanche. I just wanted to make sure you understood that there is in fact a permit and a physical access to Lot B2 now. B2 is just burdened with a servitude, CLECO.
No, I understand that.
Okay, so I mean, actually, B2 does in fact have an access at present for CLECO.
Correct. It's got a CLECO driveway located on it.
But we understand with regard to development that we might put on Lot B2, that we will have to disclose to you what that access point will be to make sure that you're comfortable with it and it meets necessary regs.
And that's understandable. We just want to make sure that if this becomes an undevelopable piece of property with no access, that it was discussed at this time.
Sure.
Okay. Everybody's okay with everything?
Yes, sir, I am. If any of you have questions, I'll be glad to address them.
Okay. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak for or against on this item? Seeing no one, I'll close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Willie.
Jeff.
Jeff?
What was the reason for the re-subdivision of that lot?
Well, I'm not sure that Randy has, you want to come on up, Randy? I'm not sure that he has an exact plan. Go ahead.
Randy Varuso, 4153 Cypress Point Drive, Covington. I own the parcel, and the one thing I did want to say about that particular parcel is the Tallow Creek separates the two parcels that we petitioned to separate. So it's, and the CLECO driveway, I had actually worked with CLECO back in 2006 when they got that, because we allowed them to come in and put a larger transformer at that location. With regard to that driveway, quite honestly, because of the creek that separates the parcel, that would likely be the only access that we have to it. If we can't get in there, you know, we would have to potentially seek something maybe from my neighbor to the left, but there's no guarantee there. So we would be landlocked. Quite honestly, in my conversations with Coleco, I don't know that they have any intentions to stop us for that very reason. So that's, you know, pretty much the layout of the land. Oh, the reason why we want to re-subdivide it is to put it in commerce. And I have a buyer for it. And as you know, that area is growing, and we have construction right next door to us now. And on the other side, I also have potential buyers, so it's to put it in commerce.
Okay.
So the main reason to subdivide it where it's at is because of the Tallow Creek ditch?
Absolutely.
Okay.
If that creek didn't separate that parcel, I wouldn't be standing here.
I know it's zoned HC2 or whatever, the commercial zoning, and that just leaves you 1.32 acres left. Is that big enough to serve what you need to sell it for?
Yes,
Okay.
it's certainly sellable with what's
Okay.
left. I have a viable buyer, and it has, you know, uses with, you know, with that
Okay.
size property, there are uses for it.
And something else to consider, you know, I know you got to deal with the Coleco servitude. Also, we have a 50-foot no-cut buffer along the way, too, so I don't know how that fits into the plan.
Excuse me?
Isn't there a 50-foot no-cut buffer along that?
Yes, sir.
It is. I see it. So I don't know if that triggers anything into the,
Where does it say that?
I'm not sure that buffer continues in front of Lot B2.
Where does it say that?
A lot
looks like it
a lot
does
of
to
work
me.
over the years with the road improvements, and City of Madisonville came in and ran a gas line there, and some water lines are run there, and quite honestly, they may have, the public entities may have cut into a lot of this no cut.
if you look at the original map, it looks like that servitude does get pretty close to the parcel A's border, so.
What's, the 50-foot no-cut buffer is shown on the survey. Does it, it could be because of the setback 75 feet from the center line of the highway?
You know, I'm at a loss as to where that 50 feet came from, but what I see, I'm not sure again that it may extend there. But I mean, we understand that if we are able to develop this tract, we will have to demonstrate to staff our ability to work through that buffer, and also to demonstrate that we are able to procure access. Failure of which, we obviously won't be able to access that parcel. And you may see us at some point putting these two parcels back together. So, I mean, I think that's the obvious conclusion. So, I mean, I appreciate the fact that staff brings to our attention that we better resolve these issues. But I think we do so at our own risk.
Okay, so we have the servitude issue and the no-cut buffer, possibly no-cut buffer issue.
That's correct.
So-
I mean, I'm not sure that there's any no-cut buffer, though, that doesn't allow an access point to a property.
Okay, so, you know, I understand the reasoning for the subdivision because of that ditch, I understand that, so I'm gonna move for approval.
Motion by
Subject to all
Commissioner
this.
Willie to approve. Commissioner Seeger.
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Seeger. Commissioner Crawford.
I just had a quick question to staff or Jeff, either one. Just wanted to understand the L1 and the L2. So those are property lines, and so the actual property line, the legal property line, does not front the highway?
It does. The right-of-way was widened. I think the parish did the taking. And so the L1 and L2 have, there's a table on the plat that shows you those distances. So it does in fact front public highway right-of-way.
Okay, but from this survey, these points and the outline of Lot B2, the 1.32 acres is in the black lines, does
Yes,
not
sir.
include that servitude.
That is ownership. The parcel 1-4
Mm-hmm,
is owned by the public.
okay,
I believe it was expropriated by the parish, not the state,
okay.
for the
So-
widening of 1077.
So that is a separate parcel, and your property line comes up to that?
Yes, sir, and that's why I say that the property clearly abuts and fronts Highway 1077. Now, the question of access is
Yeah.
a little different. Yes, sir.
Right, and I don't have a problem with any of that, and I understand. I just wanted a clarification on that.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
Okay, is there any further discussion? We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion to approve carries.
Thank you. All right, re-subdivision review. Case is 2021-2346-MRP, re-subdivision of 2.07 acre parcel, a gap parcel, and a green space parcel into parcel S1, North Point Business Park, Phase 3. Owners and representatives of St. Tammany Parish Government, surveyors Randall W. Brown and Associates, Parish Council District Representatives, Honorable Martha Casabon. The properties at the northwest corner of Louisiana Highway 1085 and Windward Drive, Covington, Ward 1, District 3. Staff?
The owner is requesting to create one parcel, parcel S-1. The objective of the request is to create a larger site to accommodate an addition to an existing sewer and wastewater plant. And the public hearing is required considering that as stated in the restrictive covenants of the approved plat, no lot shall be further re-subdivided without approval from the planning commission.
Thank you. All right, Commissioner, yes, sir. Good evening.
Good evening. Tim Brown, Director of Environmental Services. I'm just here to answer any kind of questions that may arise.
All right, thank you. Anyone else in the audience have any questions on this case? I'll close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Seeger.
I have a question. Where is the outflow from this station?
This actually discharges south of 1085 over by Diversified Foods and travels under the interstate.
Thank you. I'll move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Seeger to approve. Commissioner McInnes.
For staff, for starters, so part of this lot was green space, designated green space? 1.5 acres was green space?
Yes.
Do we know why that green space was designated as green space in a business park?
It was previously approved as part of the original business park. Just fronting 1085, it is also the CLECO servitude going through it, so.
And Mr. Brown. Am I to understand the green space will go away?
Well, it's not much green space as it is. If you're familiar with that area, that's the CLECO right-of-way. So you've got high voltage power lines running through there.
Oh,
That's, so most of that green space lot is that CLECO servitude. The portion that we'll be utilizing is that portion just to the south, adjoining south of our existing utility yard. Just that small triangle there, north of the CLECO servitude.
I'm sorry, can you point?
Sure. I don't know if you can see this triangle here is the portion that we'll be utilizing.
Okay.
Anything else now?
Yes, are you going to be putting a significant amount of fill for your project?
The engineering's still being done on that, but to my knowledge, I'm not aware of a whole lot of fill coming in, the need for fill.
My concern is that this appears to be part of the Beatico Creek drainage system, and this is very near the traffic circle there. And I saw that completely underwater, that whole area, a year ago in May, when we get these big rain events in May. So there are a lot of wetlands in this area, as we know, and I'm seeing green space being taken away and probably fill added. So tell me why I should be happy with this project.
Well, the drainage feature in that area is to the north of our existing utility yard. This will be to the south of it, between our existing utility yard and Highway 1085. And like I said, I'm not aware of, the existing plant is at the grade now, and this is going to have to match that grade for the hydraulics of the two plants to work. In terms of excitement, it's a sewage treatment plant.
Okay, I'm through my questions.
All right. Commissioner Rest.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions for you. What's the reason for the expansion of the?
Significant development in that area. Mr. LaRusso was here. That most likely will tie into this eventually. We've got numerous commercial development in that area that wants to come in that currently can't because there's no sewer capacity. We've got some additional subdivisions that want to come in that can't because there's no sewer capacity.
So the ultimate disposal of the fluid from here is Chafuncta?
I believe it goes down to Fox Branch and then I believe to Beatico Creek.
Okay, so one of the things that I've brought up at another session here, and I've still got a high concern with, is power outages. So it's pretty relative speaking today, since we had a lot of lightning and thunder the last couple days here and some power outages across the parish, I'm sure. How do you deal with power outages at this plant?
Well, we've got generators that we can tow to these things. In the future, we're looking at some grants to try to provide permanently mounted generators to our facilities, both water and wastewater. So that's something that we're looking at.
Okay, so what's time frame for moving a temporary unit onto there and powering it back up again once we have a power outage?
From our yard, it takes the guys probably about an hour to get that on site and hooked up.
So when do you pull the trigger though to go set it up?
Well, the primary concern when we have power outages is making sure that we provide people with drinking water. So we make sure that we have the water wells up and running, and then we start looking at the sewer treatment plants. And honestly, if the power outage is widespread enough, you're not having sewage pumped to the treatment plant anyway. So it stops discharging because the lift stations aren't necessarily pumping to it.
Not necessarily so, depending on what. My experience on Katrina, post-Katrina, was we had water flow, but we didn't have sewer lift stations or sewage treatment.
Right.
Okay, in a lot of areas.
That's
okay?
right. If the lift stations can't pump to it, the treatment plant won't discharge.
Exactly.
A gallon in, gallon out.
But in the end, it's sewage being raw sewage being emitted from one place or the other, either before or after the lift station or at here.
Certainly.
So my concern being is this raw effluent being discharged into our waterways.
No, I understand.
And what I'm wanting to hear is that we're moving forward with something to do about this. And instead of just saying, well, there's, we don't have anything, because I've witnessed it being just pouring out of the sewer lines, and I think that's unresponsible, whether it's the parish or individual. It's an unresponsible way to deal with raw sewage. And So what I'm asking you is I realize there are grants and there's money and there's all kinds of issues, but we keep growing and we keep expanding and we keep taking in more tax dollars and we keep having fees to the developers, okay? And somewhere in there, some of the money needs to be earmarked to address some of these things. And you seem like the perfect guy to be pushing that pushing that rope, so to speak.
Well, just to be clear, Tammany Utilities doesn't receive any tax money.
Okay.
We're completely fee-based. So-
Okay, well, whatever the need may be.
Absolutely.
Okay,
No, your point is taken, and we are looking at that and trying to build in the necessary redundancies to limit those kind of spills.
I mean, if we don't allow you to expand this, then ultimately, places aren't gonna get hooked up. And which means there's less development, which means there's less affluent going to the rivers.
Well, that's right.
So we can partly solve the problem by not approving growth.
If that's
But
the-
that's not a
if
right
that's the-
answer.
if
It's not
that's
the
the
best
dec-
answer in the world.
If that's the decision you'll like to
No,
make.
no, I'm
Yeah.
just saying, in the end, we can make it more difficult, I guess. And what I'm wanting is to see developers and different companies trying to do something on their own accord, instead of being forced to do something, okay? So that's, well, you just happen to be the lucky guy to be here again. And I know it's not just yours, but it's something that hasn't been pushed very hard, I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong, but we're still doing the same thing. And so I'd ask you to at least relay that message on pretty strongly if you could.
Yes, sir. Point taken.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner Randolph.
Motion, second that motion. Second Mr. Seeger's motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Nine yeas, one nay. Motion to approve carries.
All right, thank
Thank
you all.
you.
Have a good evening.
You too. All right, next item is 2020-2358-MRP, re-subdivision of parcels 22B1, 22B2, and 22B3 into parcels 22B1A, 22B2A, and 23B3A, Hanson Meadows Farm. Owner and representative is Mr. Woodruff L. and Ms. Carol V. Camus, Jr., and Joshua M. and Francis F. McDowell. Surveyors John F. Bono and Associates. Parish Council District Representative Honorable Martha Casabon. General location, the properties are located on the north and east side of Camus Lane, west of Hanson Meadows Lane, Covington, Ward 2, District 3. Staff?
The owner is requesting to create 3 parcels. The public hearing is required considering that as stated in the restrictive covenants of the approved plat, no lots shall be further re-subdivided without the approval of the planning commission. And also parcel 22B-2A does not meet the minimum lot width of 300 feet required under the A1 suburban zoning district, requiring a waiver from the planning commission.
Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Carol Camus. The reason for this request is that we recently got a contract on our house, and the property line was not where we thought it was, and therefore we asked to add an extra, I think it's 1.4 acres to the back half so that the swimming pool wasn't right almost against the property line. And as far as the front width of the property, there are many back there that do not meet the 300 feet. In fact, there's one next to us that's a 100-foot front. But the property, like I said, we have a contract on our house, and that's why we wanted that one lot extended over. And my grandson owns that property, and he's agreed. We've given him extra property to make sure he keeps 10 acres.
Okay. All right, thank you. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak for or against on this case? Seeing no one, I'll close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Willie.
Yes, the smallest lot that can be remaining is 10 acres, so I don't have a problem with this. I move for approval.
Motion by Commissioner Willie to approve. Commissioner Rest.
Second that motion.
Second by Commissioner Rest. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Motion to approve carries.
Thank you. Next item is 2020-2359-MRP, re-subdivision of lots 89 and 90 into lots 89A. River Club Phase 1, owner and representative is William and Sharon Nungesser. Kelly McHugh and Associates is a surveyor. Parish Council District Representative Honorable Marty Dean. General location, the properties are located on the south side of Oxbow Lane, Covington, Ward 1, District 1. Staff?
The owner is requesting to create one lot, lots 89 and 90 into lot 89A. The public hearing is required considering that as stated in the restrictive covenants of the approved plat, no lot shall be further re-subdivided without the approval of the Planning Commission.
Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Sharon Nungesser. My husband and I bought this lot, and we're just we bought 2 lots, and we're looking to build onto, just re-subdivide into one.
Okay, all right, thank you. Anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against on this? I'll close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Seeger.
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Seeger to approve. Commissioner Willie.
A second.
Second by Commissioner Willie. Commissioner Truxillo.
I was gonna second, but I'll third.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion? Please vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion to approve carries.
Thank you. All right. Petition request, we have none. Tentative subdivision review, we have none. Preliminary subdivision review, we have none. Final subdivision review, we have a couple. Case 2021-2361 FP, Beatico Creek, parcel 14. Developer owner, Beatico Creek Preserve LLC. Engineers Kelly McHugh and Associates Incorporated. Parish Council District Representative Honorable Marty Dean. General location, the property is located on the northwest side of Louisiana 1085, south of I-12, Madisonville, Ward 1, District 1. Staff?
Yes, sir. Periodic inspections were made by this office during construction, and the final inspection was made on April 20th, 2021. The final inspection disclosed that all the concrete roads are constructed and the roadside ditches are silted in. The roadside ditches need to be regraded and vegetated. Staff recommends postponement of this submittal due to the following numerous and substantial uncompleted items that existed at the time of the final inspection review. If the Planning Commission approves this submittal, it shall be subject to the following items being completed before the plats are signed. 1, regrade the roadside ditches throughout this parcel to provide positive flow. 2, regrade the outfall ditch from behind lot 872 that drains through green space GS 13-1 to the existing lake, including cleaning the relocated cross culverts under Audubon Parkway. The significant siltation is prohibiting this phase of Beatico Creek from draining in accordance with the as-built plan. 3, bring all roadside shoulders to grade and vegetate. Install and maintain proper erosion control measures until vegetation is established. 4, the roadside shoulder and ditch rutting within Scotts Bayou Lane right-of-way near lot number 900 needs to be corrected to ensure the ditches function as designed. 5, blue reflectors need to be installed in the vicinity of all fire hydrants. 6, vegetate all green space parcels within this phase of Beatico Creek. 7, all cross culverts and subsurface drainage pipes need to be blown out and clear of all debris and siltation. 8, clear construction debris and reestablish the roadside shoulder between Scotts Bayou and the turnaround near lot 882. 9, rotate the water line flushing valve so the valve will discharge into the roadside ditch. 10, install required end of roadway signage at the turnaround near lot 882 in accordance with the as-built signage plan. 11, straighten the leaning stop sign and street name sign at the intersection of Kelly Lake Lane and Scotts Bayou Lane. 12, provide 28-day concrete test results for this phase of Beatico Creek. 13, provide utility trench bedding test results. 14, provide utility trench backfill test results. 15, update all as-built plans to reflect Scotts Bayou Drive in accordance with the final plat. 16, riprap needs to be reinstalled at all cross culverts and subsurface pipes in accordance with the paving and drainage plan. 17, provide additional roadside ditch elevations once the ditches have been regraded along Scotts Bayou Lane, Kelly Lake Lane, and Audubon Parkway to verify positive flow is being provided. Should the Planning Commission approve the request for final approval, a warranty obligation will be required for the infrastructure in the amount of 2,995 linear feet at $25 per linear foot for a total of $74,875 for a period of 2 years. No mandatory development fees are required since a public hearing was held prior to January 1st, 2005. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Morone.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Paul Morone on behalf of the developer, Beatico Creek Preserve. With regards to parcel 14, as Mr. Tissue noted, the last inspection that the staff was able to make was 3 weeks ago. We've been able to, in that 3-week period, address all of the items that are on the list. Each one of those items have been completed. As I stand here this evening, I can go through each of them for you. But the ones of significance, item 2, all of that is done. All of the blue reflectors are in. All the cross culverts and subsurface drainage pipes have been blown out and debris has been cleared from them. The water line flush valve has been rotated. The end of street sign has been installed. The stop signs and street signs have all been plumbed and are straight. All of the test results had been previously submitted. We resubmitted those again. And the as-builts and the riprap have been completed. I would note that there are some items on this list that are going to require some remedial work based on the rain that has taken place yesterday and today. And these are items that are going to be really continual items all through the warranty period. As the staff comments noted, we've got almost a $75,000 warranty obligation that's up to make sure that some of these items that are going to be somewhat continuing and lingering continue to be maintained and improved. And to explain a little further about what I'm talking about, the roadside shoulders and the siltation in the ditches. When we have rains like we had this morning, which was significant, I haven't been out to the site since that rain, but I can tell you that there's going to have been some silt that is in the bottom of that ditch. And we know that we're going to have to go through, regrade that ditch again, and rework that roadside shoulder and reseed. All of the areas have been seeded. There is some grass that is coming up, but with rains like we had this morning, I'm certain that much of that seed may have washed, and so we'll have to replant that. But all of that is part of the normal process. We're aware of that. We understand what the staff needs and what their comments say, and we can comply with that. We ask that you grant approval this evening. The work that I'm talking about, the remedial work based on the roadside shoulders and cleaning these ditches, is not a month process at all, even with the weather that we're having. If we get some dry weather where the machinery can get out there and work, it's a matter of days, less than a week, to get all of that completed and ready to go. So we would respectfully request your approval, subject, of course, to all of the staff comments, a full understanding from our part that no plats will be signed, nor will they be recorded until your staff is satisfied that all of these punch list items are completed. I have Mr. McHugh, our engineer, here. I have Mr. Humbacher, our general contractor, here, who's performed all the work. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them. In regards to any of the items on the staff comments or any other questions that you might have, I'll be happy to do my best to try to give you the best answers that I can. Thank you for your consideration. We respectfully request approval subject to those comments.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Morone. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak for or against on this final approval? Seeing no one, I will close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Legal has asked to comment, so I'm going to recognize Emily first.
When I was just reviewing this plat, and I only had a small version, I didn't have a large version, and this may have been corrected, but in the dedication language, the last sentence regarding drainage seems to be missing a word. It said for the subdivision shall be owned. I believe there should be a word and maintained by the homeowners association. I just wanted to point that out, and if that is a typo, that it be corrected.
We will certainly check. I only have a small version too, so I can't read that, but I'm familiar with the language, and we will definitely check that and make that correction.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Truxillo.
Excuse me, maybe I didn't hear you or you omitted it. What about items 12, 13, and 14?
12, 13, and 14 are all of the test results. All of those have been completed. They were turned in originally. We intended to turn them in. There may have been some confusion on our part with the staff, but we have turned those in again. They're all completed and all satisfactory. At least we believe they are. Yes, sir.
Mr. Barcelona.
Yeah, Paul, I think you just answered my question about the test results. So the concrete test was fine?
Yes.
Along with the bedding and backfill for the
Yes.
trenches?
All of the test results are completed and appear satisfactory on their face.
Say, have you reviewed those test results?
No, sir, not yet.
Okay. That's it, thank you.
Commissioner McInnes.
You know, Commissioner Ress has his pet peeves that he brings up from time to time. Well, I'm going to harp on one of mine, and that's I usually see at the final phase for approval that the ditches need to be seeded and vegetated. But is it not, and I guess Chris and Helen, I'm asking you, is it not something they should be doing all along to reduce the siltation, is to have it planted and vegetated throughout the construction process? At least once they get to a certain stage. It's my understanding to meet the proper guidance from LDEQ that you're supposed to reduce your sedimentation throughout, not just with silt fences, but with vegetation. And it seems to me like it's often a last-minute step before you guys come out and look at it. Oh, we better do what we're supposed to do. We better plant the grass seed. But it's my understanding that should happen well before you come and look.
Their SWIP plan states that they should be maintaining and installing whatever erosion control measures are required to prevent siltation to whatever best extent possible, and that if something's open or bare for beyond 2 weeks, it should be vegetated at that point, in accordance to the SWIP plan that they have for each site.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel that that happens or has happened with this project? Could you see any remnant vegetation?
No, ma'am, there was no vegetation on site whenever we went through regarding the shoulders, the roadside ditches, or the property itself.
Paul, do you want to comment on that?
So a couple of issues there. One is you can't vegetate until all of the grading and equipment work is done, right? That would be the last step that you would do, because you've got to get your grade straight, you've got to get all that work done. Then you seed it, and so that's what we've done. We've seeded it before. There is grass growing in the ditches now. The slopes are always going to be more difficult to get the seed to hold, whether you're seeding straight, whether you're hydro seeding, both of which we've done out there. Not on this phase, we've just used seeding, we haven't used hydro seeding. And then the SWEP plan, which is the erosion control, and we do have hay bales in place and have continued to maintain those throughout the project. They have to be replaced from time to time. That's a typical progress of the project, but we have done all that and continue to do that. And I asked Mr. Humbacher again, and there is some vegetation. A lot of it is in the bottom of the ditch on the flat areas. The slopes are still not taking the grass. That's going to have to be reseeded, which, again, we understand, and we're prepared to do that. But we can't do that until the back end of the project. In other words, we can't start with the seeding because you can't seed for obvious reasons while you're reaching your grades with the heavy equipment.
But I just heard the SWEP plan says if you're gonna be bare for 2 weeks, you gotta plant something, ryegrass or something.
Well, if
You may have to plant more than one time, but.
which we do plant more than one time. We will have seeded numerous times before the grass stand finally grabs and it's in place. So that we know, that's a typical issue that we deal with on every project and have dealt with it on this project.
But it shouldn't be. It's my pet peeve. It shouldn't be.
There is almost no way to avoid that. There is almost no way to avoid that. If you go out and build streets and build ditches, it is almost impossible that you are going to be able to get a stand of grass in the middle of construction and keep that stand of grass as you have to continue to work those shoulders, work those
No,
ditches and so forth.
you won't keep it, but you need to reduce your erosion. Because all of our construction sites downstream, you see the silted ditches, the silted streams.
Sure.
And I know in other states, they're much more stringent than we are, and we need to do a better job.
Well, we have our SWEP plan, and we do follow that SWEP plan to the best of our ability, which is an effort to try to reduce that runoff, which again, we agree. We agree. It's a challenge, but we agree that it is our goal as well.
But we need to do better.
Commissioner Ress.
Yes, I have a question for staff. The number of items in this list, I realize Paul said they're done now, but it seems to me that these things should be done. These are pretty common things, it seems like we see pretty regularly. It seems to me these things should be done before the even gets on the agenda for a final review for us. I would think there's nothing unusual really here that it seems like things your staff finds pretty regularly. Do you say there's anything really unusual here, or is this types of things that are common on all developments? Not necessarily wrong on all developments, but the type of things that need to be done by anybody that's developing on a regular case should know these things. Can you answer that?
These are typical staff comments when we come to final
So
approval.
there's no reason
and
you wouldn't know all these things should be done before you apply for final.
I would say that would be correct, but we have been subject to significant amounts of rain on a regular basis.
I understand. I could see there be damages, but some of these things, there's no reason that for instance, the trench bedding test results, the cement test results, all those things they need to be done before final approval. So would you apply for final if they haven't been reviewed and turned in yet, is my question to you. I mean, it just seems to me that should be done. I mean, before you'd ever apply for a final, not after the fact. And as far as the siltation, I've driven through a bunch of new developments, and I see different things being done in different ones. For instance, there was siltation, black netting put up completely around a site on one development I looked at here just recently. Some of them, nothing's done. It's basically the ditches are dug and it's bare dirt all the way, and I'm not seeing any effort of let's put it this way, not much of an effort to plant grass and keep them from eroding. And as far as straw bales at the end of the line, I think that's minimally effective, I guess I'd say. I'd say that's a last ditch for keeping the big items from making it down there. It's kind of like a rock catcher versus catching a lot of siltation. And again, I agree with Ms. McGinnis. I just don't think, personally, that we're meeting the spirit of what we're wanting on these developments as far as keeping siltation from reaching our streams and waterways. And to me, this is not a good job done by the developer. And I would move to deny this approval of final.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Riss to deny.
Mr. Chairman, may I respond to any of that?
Yeah?
I don't believe.
And I'll be brief. There is nothing on this list that surprises us. Every one of these items is a typical item, as Mr. Tishu said. Respectfully to the staff, the test results, all of the test results were submitted when we submitted for final. If there was an error on our part in the transmission, if they missed it in the transmission, but they were done early on, Mr. Ress, and they were submitted at that time. We resubmitted them, and again, I'm not complaining about the staff, maybe the error was on our side, but they were clearly done. With regards to the netting you see, that's silk screening, we use that. The DEQ has been out to this site several times to inspect our sweat plan and our siltation and how we have conducted the site. And we've been found to be in compliance with the DEQ's requirements. We have pulled these ditches 3 times. We have regraded these ditches 3 times already. So to suggest that we don't know what we're doing, or we just file for final approval and we don't even know we have to have test results, I respectfully suggest to you that is not accurate. It is a real challenge to have every one of these items completed and inspected when we get here, especially this time of year when you have rains like this. When it dries, we will regrade these ditches and we will reestablish these shoulders. Now, if that's on a Wednesday and we call for an inspection and the staff isn't able to get out there till Tuesday of the next week or whatever, I mean, they've got their other work they've got to do too, and we have another deluge like we've had today, you know what they're probably going to find? There may be additional issues that have to be addressed. We understand that, and we don't begrudge that. I mean, that's the process that you go through when you try to build a subdivision in South Louisiana in the springtime or in the wintertime. So my concern and my request to respond was that I took those comments to mean that we've done a poor job and we just didn't do what we were supposed to do here. That's not the case. That's not the case. This list is a function of the challenges that we face this time of year. And it's not the staff's fault, but we have worked diligently to complete each of these items. Each of these items were done. If we could have had the staff come out right away and done their inspection and been here, we would not have this list. But that's not reality. It's not reality for the staff. They can't drop everything they're doing every time a developer calls. I mean, there's going to be a lag time, and so you're going to see these things. You're going to see lists like this. We wish that they were not this long. All I can tell you is I appreciate your consideration this evening. I hope you'll take into consideration what I've said. This is a typical list. It is a list that has been completed that will need to continually be updated as far as the work that we're doing, but we're prepared to do that to get a clean inspection, and we know that has to happen before any plats can be signed or recorded. And I thank you for your consideration.
Commissioner Crawford.
Okay, let's see, just a quick comment in general, Paul. You know, what we have to go by here is we have this list, and you've been in attendance to many of these meetings where we've had these long lists. We had a big discussion about that last year. And on top of that, we have a comment from the staff that recommends postponement due to numerous and substantial uncompleted items, which I think most of the people up here would automatically concur with. If the staff feels that way, then certainly, you know, who are we to change that opinion? So that's just a basic comment, and I do think that this is a longer list than we would typically like to see. I understand your comments. I understand the timing. We certainly have timing issues with submittals and all that, but that's part of the process. We've brought this up before, and I think there's ways to make this list much smaller and much less meaningful. Now, the problem that I have, and I'd like to address this to Chris if I could, is item number 2. Chris, this says that the significant siltation is prohibiting this phase of Beatico Creek from draining in accordance with the as-built plan. It sounds like it's a serious drainage issue. And when I look on the front and I see that this is flood zone A, is that to mean that you notice problems with drainage of the neighborhood of the subdivision?
So there's a large drainage ditch that a lot of this discharges to behind lot 872. And the day we went out and did our inspection, there was about between 1 foot and 2 feet of fill, or siltation, not necessarily fill, but siltation that run into that ditch. All across culverts were mostly filled with siltation, and it wasn't able to drain. A lot of these areas, we had a little bit of ponding, and it really would clog the whole system up because everything kind of routes through that direction.
Okay.
And from there into the lake.
Right, that's what I'm gathering. Okay. One more question for staff. There's a motion on the floor to deny this final approval. What happens if this final approval is denied? What's the process after that?
I'm going to defer to legal on that one.
As opposed to postponed?
If you deny this tonight, then the developer can appeal that decision to the parish council.
Right. But if it were to remain denied, what's the timing of them to resubmit and so on and so forth? Do we know that?
Ken, would you accept, instead of a denial, a postponement? I understand what you're saying.
I don't see us moving forward with this until again, it's everything we do, we kind of beat around it for a while, and we talk about it, and we don't seem to move forward with, I call it drawing the line, because at some point you gotta set a standard, and I think our standard has, could improve. I believe they try. I don't think Mr. Marone is implying that they don't give it an effort. But in the end, whatever's being done isn't working. We're still getting more stuff than we should be seeing. And whatever the reason be, that needs to be figured out. That's not for us to figure. For us is to figure is the right thing coming to us to get approved. And I'm not feeling like we're there. I'm okay with postponing this go-around with the understanding that we need to move tighter and tighter on what this looks like. And if a postponement will meet that need and move us closer to that end, I could accept postponement.
Well, by postponing it, we keep it in our ballpark.
Okay.
If it's denied and the denial goes forward, then it goes to the parish council.
Yeah, I
who
could
can override.
I could live with a postponement.
Okay, all right. So the
change my motion
on
to-
the floor
is
has
to postpone
been
for 1
amended to postpone.
In that case, I second that motion.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Commissioner Drum.
I'm sorry, I withdraw, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Seeger.
I think that the commission, Paul, might be a little bit confused about several things. For instance, the warranty obligation, that you're paying $74,000 for 2 years in a row, I believe.
Well, the 74,000 has to stay there for 2 years.
And so isn't that to address these problems as they reoccur?
Yes, in some respect. In other words, we've got to address these problems to get the plat recorded. The warranty obligation, some of these items, like the siltation and some issues, they're going to be continual items through that 2-year period that we, under parish ordinance, are obligated to come back in and continue to fix these problems. The $74,000 is if we went away. and we didn't fulfill our continual obligation over this 2-year period.
And I counted typical comments, and if my count is correct, that's out of the comments, it was 6 of the 17, which is a little bit less than 40%, but about 40%. When I counted that and added the discrepancy about the test results, there were 3 more, which makes it 9 out of the 17 things. It's not that many when you consider everything that's involved there, and when you consider the due process, and when you consider Mother Nature. That being said.
Okay. Commissioner Barcelona.
So Paul, comment number 2, it seems like that was one of the more significant comments regarding the outfall ditch behind lot 872. Just to clarify, that's been addressed?
Cleaned and functioning, yes, sir.
Okay, all right,
Yes.
thank you.
All right, let me, just in case some of the commissioners may not understand and know, on these plats, they have to come through engineering. There's one other one, and then I have to sign off on the plat. Okay, and until I know we've got a clean bill of health, as the old saying goes, I'm not gonna sign it. So even if this were to not be postponed, I wouldn't sign it until I got a much better checklist than what's here. And I understand with the rain and everything, but we continually see this type of a punch list on a lot of these finals. And at some point in time, just like Ken said, we've got to stop it. Until we get a better punch list, the best thing to do is postpone.
I don't think you can control or sign off on an act of God. That was the point I was making.
And I agree with that, okay? But there's a lot of things that I see, not only on this punch list, but other punch lists in the past, and I'm sure that we will see some punch lists just like this in the future.
I just think we should focus on this one tonight, not on the past and not on the future, but this one is what we're talking about.
I agree.
Just to,
But we have a motion to postpone and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Commissioner Randall. 40 yeas, 6 nays. Motion does not carry.
All right. So what does the commission wish to do on this? Commissioner Seeger?
I move to approve,
Motion?
subject to staff comments.
Motion by Commissioner Seeger to approve, per staff comments. Commissioner Randolph.
Second,
Second by Commissioner Randolph. Commissioner Willie.
I'd like to say that, you know, most of these items we are looking at is weather, caused by weather. Now, if it was a cul-de-sac that wasn't constructed or a road not completely constructed, it'd be different. So that's a comment I would like to make, you know. This is all weather-related items pretty much. The silting, the vegetation, the erosion, that's all cause of the weather. And these guys got to deal with that this time of year. So that's what I have to say about it.
Okay. All right. We have a motion by Commissioner Seeger to approve? We didn't get a second either, did we?
Randolph, second.
Randolph second, okay. Commissioner Truxilla,
I second.
okay, we had the second one.
Okay.
All right, any further discussion? Please vote.
Six yeas, 4 nays, motion to approve carries.
All right. All right, next item. Is 2021-2362-FP, Lakeshore Villages, Phase 9A, developer owner D.R. Horton Incorporated, Gulf Coast, engineer surveyor, Duplantis Design Group, PC, Parish Council District Representative, Honorable J. Carey. General location, the property is located north of Oak Harbor Boulevard, west of Louisiana Highway 433, east of Interstate 10, Slide L, Ward 9, District 13. Staff?
Yes, sir. Periodic inspections were made by this office during construction, and the final inspection was made on April 21st, 2021. The final inspection disclosed that all the asphalt roads are constructed and the subsurface drainage is functioning. The following uncompleted items existed at the time of the final inspection and will be completed before the plats are signed. 1, the streets throughout this phase of Lakeshore Villages need to be cleaned so meaningful inspection can be made. 2, blue reflectors need to be installed in the vicinity of all fire hydrants. 3, a stop sign and all-way plaques need to be installed at the intersection of Oakworth Street and Russet Ridge Drive. The as-built signage plans shall be updated accordingly. 4, the roadway turnout radius at the intersection of Belwick Bay Drive and Alta Pine Lane needs to be repaired. 5, the pond banks around Mini Lake Number 1 need to be reestablished, the rutting corrected, and the slopes vegetated. 6, vegetate the green space parcel to the south of Lot 2149. 7, update all plan sheets to reflect Phase 9A. 8, the final plat needs to be signed and sealed by a licensed Louisiana professional land surveyor. 9, show 911 municipal lot addresses on all lots. 10, update the vicinity map to include the Mini Lake Number 1 area. 11, the 90-foot access servitude along Belwick Bay Drive appears to encumber the rear of lots 2132 through 2140. Revised plat to eliminate conflict. 12, provide a water and sewer letter of capacity for this development from Oak Harbor East Utilities. 13, provide a letter of acceptance and responsibility for the perpetual maintenance and operation of the water and sewer systems from Oak Harbor East Utilities. 14, provide a clear water test for this phase of Lakeshore Villages. Should the Planning Commission approve the request for final approval, a warranty obligation will be required for the infrastructure in the amount of 5,457 linear feet at $22 per linear foot for a total of $120,054 for a period of 2 years. No mandatory development fees are required since a public hearing was held prior to January 1st, 2005. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Shane, you're the right person on this?
I'm afraid I am. Good evening, Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell Law Firm, P.O. Box 1810 in Covington, representing, of course, D.R. Horton, Gulf Coast. And we have responses to each of the comments that I'd like to read to you by item. We will clean the streets as to item 1. Number 2, the blue reflectors were installed at all hydrants. Obviously, some have been pulled up during the construction process. We will reinstall those that are lacking. Item 3, we did not propose that the Oakworth Street and Russet Ridge Drive intersection be an all-way stop on the plans that staff previously approved. And that was the basis, of course, for the work order. We have other T intersections where there are 3 approaches in the development that have only one stop direction of travel on the road. So what we'd like to do is work with staff and determine what the appropriate signage will be at this intersection. we see no reason why it can't be consistent, again, with other intersections in the development. Item 4, the contractor will repair this turnout radius. Item 5, we have forwarded this issue to both the developer and the contractor, and they're in the process of addressing it. Item 6, we acknowledge that more vegetation is needed. That was caused because CLECO recently had to install some electrical in the vicinity. Some of the vegetation was lost, but we're in the process of reinstalling that vegetation now. Item 7, we will address that comment in terms of updating the plan sheets. Item 8, when the revised final plat is resubmitted to staff, we will address all of the plat comments that were listed on the final staff report. As to item 9, we will show the 911 municipal addresses on all of the lots on the resubmitted final plat. Item 10, we will address that comment, which is to update the vicinity map to include Amenity Lake number 1 area. Item 11, that servitude will go away when Phase 9B is approved. We will work with staff to determine the timing of revoking that servitude. That servitude only runs across a very small rear portion of those lots, and those lots are deep in terms of what's there in the development. So we acknowledge the validity of the comment, but we have a plan to remove that servitude and feel confident we can coordinate that with staff. As to item 12, both water and sewer capacity has been constructed and is in fact in place, and we are waiting for the letter from Oak Harbor East Utilities, which we will provide to staff, confirming that those capacities and facilities are in place. As to item 13, we again have requested from Oak Harbor East Utilities a letter of acceptance and responsibility of the water sewer systems, and when we're in receipt of that letter, we will provide that to staff. And as to item 14, clear water tests have in fact been received, and they will be provided to staff. We don't believe that there is any comment that either has not been addressed or is not currently being addressed, and we feel confident that if you will grant final subdivision approval this evening, that by the time the plats get to the chair, that all of these items will be taken care of. If any of you have any questions or concerns, I'll be glad to address them at the appropriate time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chang. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak for or against on this item? I'll close it to the public, bring it back to the commission. Commissioner McInnes.
Mr. Shane. You know, I have to say something about Lakeshore Village.
Good.
Explain to me the flood zone designation.
I'm sorry?
Explain to me the flood zone designation.
Well, I will.
It looks
once I
like
determine-
typos. I don't recognize it.
I'm going to ask my engineer to help me, and as to what AH-EL10 means. I mean, we're in a ring levee there, so I suspect, well, maybe I shouldn't guess. Help me out, Lizzie. This is Lizzie Sanji of Duplantis Design Group, which is the engineer for this project.
Hello. Hi. So just to give you some history on this project, I know you've commented on the levee and the drainage before, but just for everyone else. So previously this was AH elevation 1, so the previous landowner did a letter of map revision, I want to say before 2010, I want to say it was like 2006-ish. And because this used to be, I mean, this used to not have a levee. So once this levee was built and the drainage station was built, they're able to get to this flood zone and justified AH elevation 1. Since then, back in 2018, 19, I forget. I should know, but I forget because we did it. We did another letter of map revision. And so initially, whenever this development was done, it didn't have as much storage, some drainage storage, but then when Katrina happened, the previous owner noticed some opportunity to excavate these lakes and sell some material, and so these lakes expanded, and we saw the benefit of that. And also, we saw that the I think I told you this before, that the levees were overbuilt by a couple of feet because, again, Katrina happened and the previous developer is like, man, I really want to keep this development safe. So he even overbuilt the levees, but I digress a little bit. So we did a letter of map revision, and essentially we redid this drainage model. I mean, it's super comprehensive. We had to go through FEMA, and it was like this over a year-long process of modeling and analyzing and correspondence back and forth with FEMA. And we actually changed the flood zone designation, which says that it's special because it's a levee protected system. So majority of the system is a special flood zone X with a BFE of -3 because we're able to, with our drainage models, support that. You know, the water within this levee does not get above elevation -3. And then for all the areas that were below -3 that were never filled in, I mean, those are still the AH. So there is a little bit of history, and I just want to bring you guys up to speed on that. So it is not AH elevation 1 as it designates on here. It's a mix of X and AH. X special because of the levee. And it denotes that it's a special on the letter from FEMA. It designates that it's protected by a levee. So it gives that, hey, FYI, because I know that's been your concern before.
Wow, I'm going to have to stick to Jeff next time.
Well, I had that explanation, but I wanted to give Lizzie a little mic time, because I think it's only fair
Thank you very much.
She's such a good engineer that she gave that opportunity. I learned a lot, too.
Commissioner Truxillo.
I'm just curious, since your engineer brought up the levee, who maintains that levee?
The levee district, we have a CDD, a Community Development District, which actually regulates and owns all of the infrastructure there, streets and ditches, and it's pretty well governed.
All right. I don't see anyone in the queue. We have had discussion, explanations. So what does the commission wish to do on this item? Commissioner Crawford.
Well, Jeff, I have a couple of comments. I was hoping that, again, you heard my comments on the previous case.
I
And
did.
also Mr. Russ's, and kind of feel similar about that. We've got a number of items here. Most of them are minor, just like they were in the other one. But for a final approval, there's a couple of things that concern me. Number one, the 90-foot access servitude seems to be unresolved at this time. So you said it's going to go away, but it seems to be not resolved, I guess. You're gonna scrap it from the drawings somehow?
Yes, sir. If you want, we can talk more in detail about that. And if I could, let's distinguish this case from the other, in that you had a recommendation from staff to postpone the other. I do not see that recommendation here.
That's correct.
And I think, with all due respect, that's pretty important, because I think if staff were hesitant about us requesting final approval from you this evening, I'm confident they would not have been bashful and would have told you so. With regard to that 90-foot servitude, if you look at, I guess it's page 2 of my staff report, I assume page 3. It gives us the layout of the subdivision. So if you look at Belwick Bay Drive, running along the northerly end, sort of the curved area,
Yes.
you can see where that servitude barely nips, about 6 or 7 lots, the rear of it. I'm not even sure that the servitude gets beyond the rear setback. It certainly does not get near the footprint of the homes. So what will happen is that servitude will be eliminated once we get final subdivision approval for Phase 9B, which is the shaded area, kind of to the right there. So it's really just more so a matter of timing, Mr. Crawford. It's not a matter of suggesting that the servitude should not go away. It will.
Okay. Okay, and so that's not my main concern. I was just curious about that.
Yes, sir.
The thing I was hoping that you were going to say, which you've said in the past, is that regarding your water and sewer plans and the letters of capacity and so on and so forth, you know, you've come previously and said, hey, we just received this today and we'll be turning it in tomorrow. Everything's fine and so on and so forth. But that's not my understanding at this point. You're still waiting on those letters for items 12, 13, and 14. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That is correct.
Okay. That to me seems to be a major item for final approval. I'm open.
Yes, sir.
I'm open to
Yes,
your
sir.
comment on that.
Well, I understand that we're on different sides of the dais, literally, but I believe that if the facilities were not in place and the letters were not forthcoming, I could understand that you might feel the grant of final might be premature. But, and perhaps my experience of the past is not good reason for the statement, but I know that the chair is not going to sign the plat until staff tells him they've received those letters. And when I know that the facilities in fact are in place and we just haven't been able to get the letters out of the utility company, I don't see a risk or harm to the public or to anyone, because I know the plat's not going to be signed until all these conditions are met. I don't say that to be disrespectful about the need for the letters, and I think we're communicating clearly.
I understand.
But and I will tell you that, and it may not make any of you feel any better, but in in some jurisdictions, final subdivision approval is actually an administrative function that does not require public hearing, because for the most part, it's a check-the-box process. You have approved the preliminary subdivision work order, the specs, the requisites, and you really are dependent, and rightfully so, on staff, on engineering expertise to tell you if all the boxes have been checked. I'm not suggesting you shouldn't have province of judgment in this instance, because that's our law in St. Tammany Parish. But I would also say that I know that many of the comments that are the feelings that each of you have on these cases with regard to comments, it's based on the views of your staff on the technical items. So I would only respectfully request that because the infrastructure is in fact in place, and because we only await the issuance of the letters, and because we know that the chair is not going to sign the plats until the staff says that all the boxes have been checked, that you consider granting final approval.
I understand your comments, and I agree with you completely. We do rely on the staff's comments, and this list is the staff's checking the box comments. Obviously, these items were not checked on the box, and that's why they're on this list. So I understand your comments, and I concur with what you're saying. But I just want you to understand where I'm coming from also.
Yes, sir, I do.
That being the case, I will cease my comments for now and get out of the way and not hold this up in case someone else motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Crawford to approve.
I did not.
Commissioner Randolph.
He did not make a motion.
Oh, okay.
I said I was getting out of the way in case.
Oh, all right. Commissioner Randolph.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I totally concur with what all of my fellow commissioners have stated, and the position we have taken over the last year is trying to clean up the final approval report, a list. Granted that I do believe they're always going to have some items that's not going to be done. And I think that is going to take the wisdom of this commission to determine whether we're going to approve or disapprove something that hadn't been done. To staff, with their limited time and limited resources to be able to accommodate all of the development and the projects that's going on parish-wide, I think is incumbent upon us to to come with a happy medium, a happy area so we all can move forward, is that before a final report is given to us to approve or disapprove, or even to review to approve or disapprove, that staff give us what they have already inspected, a certain number or whatever percentage of areas that all we need to do is approve the sign, approve the hydrant, or whatever. Because I think what we're gonna end up doing is going back and forth on these type issues every time we have development until everything is cleaned up. And in my opinion, it sounds as if we want, as commissioners, the staff and developers, to provide us with a clean final approval list. Because I don't think we've given the staff or the developers any idea of what we're going to accept unless it's clean. I may not be listening correct, but I know I'm a good listener. So I think before we can actually say this is not good enough or that's not good enough, we need to give the staff some type of guideline to get to us, a report to us, to say this is the final report. Because we can't tell them right now, hey, if it's 4 or 5 instead of 10 or 11, if it's 1 or 2 instead of 22, that's okay with us. I think we need to give some guidelines, some directions to staff so that they'll know exactly what we're going to approve or not approve or disapprove, considering some other things that we may have some problems with. But I think we're going at it the right way, because I love a clean final report. We're going at it the right way, but we're not giving any directions as to what we're looking for as it relates to an acceptance or a good discussion on a final report. So that's my stance right now.
Okay, Commissioner Truxtilla.
I kind of agree with Mr. Randolph to a point where we should get a clean product. But some of these punch list items are weather-related, it's not major issues that the staff can't control, the developer can't control, or anybody can control. It's just things that happen. As long as there's not any major issues on the punch list, you know, I think that's what we as commissioners need to focus on. Weather-related stuff like drainage and stuff like reshaping the drainage after rain, stuff like that. It's important, but the major things are more important to me, in my opinion. By saying that, I make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Truxillo to approve. Commissioner Ress.
Yeah, just the only comment I'd have, first of all, Jeff, of all the ones we've looked at from this development, this one had the most items I've ever seen from you folks. I was actually surprised. Usually you have a much cleaner sheet than this one. And historically, you guys have done a great job. Better than this, okay? I don't think this is horrible. I think the one before this, I think staff did recommend to postpone from the one before. They are the people that go inspect, and we didn't. I don't understand that. We just talk about, we want staff to tell us, staff told you. What do? We move forward with it. Makes no sense to me. As far as weather goes, guess what? There's always gonna be weather everywhere, okay? And weather related. But drive into some of these sites midway through the process. when the ditches are been dug and there's not a lick of greenery growing anywhere. There's not, at some points, these are not being planted early enough and often enough during the process before they get to final. You know, by the time they get to final, how many months have gone by to think we can't have green growing in there already? How many months have gone by from the time we dig ditches till we come to final? It's not like it's a month, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. To think there's nothing growing in there, that we still gotta have all the runoff we have, I think we're kidding ourselves a little bit. We're at final. And we still can't in some of these cases. Now, this isn't all about him. I'm going backwards a little bit, Jeff, and I apologize.
I hope
to
you're
you.
not commenting,
I'm not.
all those comments aren't directed to
They're
this case.
not all directed to your
Well,
case.
good, I can sit down
okay?
then.
But in general here, I think you guys, I mean, I hate to say it, but I think the commission missed the boat here big time tonight. And I'm willing to say that because we've just said, staff goes and looks. Staff shouldn't have to even provide this list. They should know every one of these things. There shouldn't be any list the staff has to make. These are common items that they need to fix. Some of these things, they should have known before they turned in to come for the inspection, that they needed to be done. And to think that we haven't given them anything wrong, I kind of disagree. I think they know already the things that need to be done. Why does staff have to go out there and tell them it needs to be done? Some of them may have occurred just because of weather it occurred, but not the length of some of these lists. And I think this list that was here prior to this case in particular, I'm sorry, there was weather-related things, I agree, but I'll bet you'd be hard-pressed to find green out there if you went in there. And that just tells me nothing's being done often enough, early enough. That's why there's so much runoff and so much siltation in these places. And if I'm wrong, staff, you can correct me, but I've driven into some of these sites. I see what's going on in there. If there's not a house already there and that lot's cleared and the ditches are dug, it's barren ground. And I might be wrong, and I don't see much prevention activity going on to prevent the siltation. So I just ask you as we go forward, maybe in more visits to these sites earlier to see what's going on. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Tell me, prove it to me. I can live with it. But I don't think that's the case, and I think Ms. McGinnis was basically saying the same thing in her statement. And so with that said, I'll get off my pedestal.
Commissioner McInnes.
Jeff? Explain to me, Commissioner Crawford made a good point, and it made me think of a follow-up question is, how could you not have a letter of capacity for this development? I mean, was not the capacity from the utility determined before you even started construction?
Yes. It's a letter from the private utility company certifying that the capacity that was mandated, required for this development is in fact in place.
Why is this a last-minute thing? Why can't that be done weeks or months ago?
Obviously, if we had control of getting the letter from the utility company, we wouldn't be having this discussion. We can only tell you that we know that the capacity is in place. It's physically been constructed. We just haven't been able to procure the letter from the utility company.
It just seems like you wouldn't even want to come and ask for final till you had the letter in hand.
Just to the contrary. With all due respect, what is the sin if the letter is forthcoming after this commission grants final approval, and when you know that your chairman is not going to sign the plat until staff tells you they get the letters?
Well, with all due respect, the decision is also on us, not just the chairman, and we want to.
You're suggesting that your chairman is not going to make sure that the staff certifies to him every one of your final subdivision approvals always says subject to staff comments or performance of all staff comments. So if I'm suggesting that your system is foolproof, I think you've missed the boat. Because I think that your system typically ensures that your approval is subject to fulfillment of all staff comments. And the check and balance is that not only must staff certify to you that those conditions have been satisfied, but your chairman makes sure of that before he signs.
I think if Oak Harbor East Utilities knew that your project could not be submitted for final till they gave you the letter, they would give you the letter. They have no incentive because we keep approving all of these things. It doesn't make sense to me. It seems like something that, it's almost like we need some interim step before final, between preliminary and final.
Yeah, Ted?
I don't know if this one's on or not. So just to, I hope, maybe give everybody a little bit of understanding of some of these processes and the reason you see some of these comments, not to say that they're not done, they haven't been vetted, they haven't been looked into, but just like you're saying and Jeff is saying, there is a redundancy here on a lot of these, especially with these very big developments, because there's a lot of construction, there's a lot of infrastructure put in, there's a lot of capacity allocated, reserved, and assigned. So as a form of redundancy, we are requesting of D.R. Horton and Oak Harbor East to certify to the parish at every step of the way that they maintain capacity and that they are providing capacity. So in the event that there's other developments that will come in next and near to Oak Harbor that D.R. Horton has no control over, but Oak Harbor East will they will provide capacity and service to. They have no say on what they give, what they do, what they don't give, nor should they. And I'm not just defending them, I'm saying in general so you guys understand, when there's something this big, you can't just like certify one and done. There's moving parts, there's moving finals, there's moving recorded, there's moving phases, moving phase lines, which is all by the book and all completely fine. But a part of our requirement that D.R. Horton understands, Oak Harbor East understands, and it even went all the way up to LDH because there was capacity issues while the plant was being constructed, which has since been constructed, that, guys, we're gonna ask you for a capacity letter every step of the way to ensure that capacity is still being maintained and is still being provided. That is why you're seeing this. We didn't issue a work order with no capacity or no understanding or plans to have capacity for them. We wouldn't do that. That's part of our requirement at the preliminary phase, and they met that. We're doing it again here because some developments lag from, this one happens to come in very quickly. It was a year later. Some of them take 2 or 3 years. Some of them take 4 years to come in for final. If that's the case, what capacity did you guys allocate otherwhere because they didn't reserve it, whatever? And if that's a case, we're not gonna issue your final approval if we don't get that capacity. We have done that numerous times here, and we're gonna continue to do that, and I would argue to say you're gonna continue to see a comment similar to this on the next coming phases, 9B, unless they get it ahead of time. I will be putting this comment on there, but I wanted to give some reassurance that we're not just not looking into capacity every step of the way and not doing a checks and balances. It is done and it is redundant, and to the point where it may cause some confusion to the commission, some headache for the developer, but this is the parish's checks and balances to ensure that before this goes through, there's water, there's sewer, it didn't get allocated, it didn't get not finished, et cetera. So I don't know if that confuses you guys a little bit more, gives you some degree of comfort, but I wanted to, this is not just a, well, let's just put it on there and see what they do with it. This is why we're doing this.
But just let me get this clear, that
Yes, ma'am.
at the beginning, when they first come to you, they have to show capacity from a utility.
It's a twofold answer there. They either have to show that the capacity is existing at the plant that's currently constructed, or they have to permit and build additional capacity with the subdivision, which is a big part of what Lakeshore had to do
Right.
when they came through with so many preliminary phases.
Well, that alleviates some of my concern. I'm going, what? We
No.
haven't even talked about capacity until
Well, no, but that's-
final?
But that's part of your,
Yes.
wait a minute though, but that's part of the commission's preliminary subdivision approval too.
It is. It's
So understand that you as a commission have already approved that the plans that were submitted as it relates to where we're gonna get our sewer and water and the capacity.
It's looked at the tentative as well as the preliminary as well as the final, and it's
Yeah.
redundant like that to ensure it's met every step of the way.
It's our job to make sure that the utility provider, in fact, if he needs to expand his plant, constructs makes the expansion, and certifies that the capacity is there. So I just don't want the commission or the public to have some concern that the request for final is suggestive that the sewer and water capacity is not there. It's simply that the letter's not there. And, you know, I was sitting here thinking as we were discussing this tonight, it seems to me that very seldom do I have a final where there's not a letter lacking with regard to water quality testing, sewer, et cetera. So maybe you want to change your practice. I mean, I understand a lot of the discussion tonight is about philosophy or how the commission wishes to do business and the way they expect the development community to respond. I understand that discussion. But I mean, this is not out of the ordinary for the letters not, all of the letters not to be here at the time of final.
Well, I appreciate Ted's comments. That made it much more clear. I just want to just summarize the philosophy is if you don't want us to comment on something, don't put it in front of us because this is what we review. And if this is just a punch list the staff needs to look at to follow up on Commissioner Randolph's comments, maybe we need to look at this because our job is to look at these things and comment. And if, particularly if staff recommends that we postpone, we are going to pay attention to that. So these are just issues that we're trying to do our job.
I fully understand. But this is not a case where postponement was requested or suggested by your staff.
Anything else now? Okay. Legal wants to comment.
Just briefly, I want to point out in relation to Mr. Randolph's comments that the code does provide some guidance to the commission on what you all should be considering at final subdivision approval. If you refer to section 125-209 in the code, it says that final subdivision approval can be granted by the planning commission upon written request and after formal public hearings conducted before said commission in accordance with parish law and after receiving certification from the developer that the following items have been satisfactorily addressed. And then it's 4 items. 1 is streets and other improvements are certified by the developer to be substantially complete insofar as to provide safe and efficient all-weather access and traffic flow. Number 2, drainage improvements are substantially complete and a letter from the Department of Environmental Services approving sewer and water systems proposed. Number 3, a surety obligation pledged to the parish in the form of either and/or funded performance and warranty letter of credit from a qualified bank or financial institution in good standing and doing business with the parish, or by providing cash or its equivalent to be held in receipt by the Department of Finance. And then 4, it shall be mandatory prior to subdivision approval for the developer to remove or to cause to be removed any encroachments from any servitudes and easements in whatever nature and description and from any rights of way that are dedicated to the parish. So I just wanted to point that out in case that helps the commission with some guidance on what you all should be looking for in these final subdivision approvals.
Okay, thank you, Emily. Commissioner Willie.
Okay, I just want to clear something up. It's the hesitation of the letter being issued, what seems to be the problem here on those cases. So that's coming from the utilities, right? So what's holding the utilities up? It's because of the size of the project or all the working parts, like he said. And they just can't, you ask for it, they won't give it to you the next day because they got a lot of things to consider. So that's what I'm getting. Is that correct from staff?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, Jeff, the only non-weather significant item I see on your list is that that turnaround radius that needs to be repaired. Has that been repaired?
Which item? I'm sorry.
Number 4.
It has not been repaired, but it's in the process. The contractor has that on his list and it's being repaired.
Okay, and that's the only, and it's not even that, it's just it's a radius, it's just a little turning radius.
Right.
It's not even a major item. Okay, did anybody make a motion yet? I moved, okay, I second it. Wait, the motion to approve or?
Yes.
Yes, I'll second that motion.
Okay. Commissioner Barcelona.
Emily, just to clarify, the code mentions that the commission has the right to approve the final subdivision if the developer certifies that it's substantially complete. Is that correct?
After receiving certification that the items have been satisfactorily addressed, is how it's worded in the code.
Okay. Okay, all right, thank you.
All right, we've got a motion and a second to approve final on 2021-2362 FP. Let me just make one comment. There's a number of items here that I'm going to say are paperwork items. Doesn't have anything to do with drainage, and things like that. I mean, just like the 911 municipal lot addresses on all lots, that's a paperwork item. And if you look at most of them, they're paperwork items that need to be put on the final plat. And whenever staff gets the final plat that's signed off on by the engineer, all these items should be there. And if they're not there, they're not gonna ask me to sign off on them. Bottom line, and this is an entirely different punch list than the previous one we dealt with. So, all right, we've got a motion and a second. Please vote.
Eight yeas, 2 nays, motion to approve carries.
Thank you. All right, old business, we don't have any. New business, we got any new business? No new business, motion to adjourn. Thank you.
Time for dinner.